Good evening. It is 6:30 and we will call our Monday, March 17th meeting to order. Roll call. Joel?
I'm here.
Leah? Here without a voice. Adam?
Here.
Sarah?
Here.
Nola? Here. Carly? Here. Tom?
Here.
I'm also here. Dr. Sarno, has our meeting been properly noticed and served?
Yes.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can someone please read the mission statement?
Read that one. The Mount Horeb Area School District, in partnership with the community, is dedicated to nurturing, educating, and challenging all students, preparing and empowering them to be productive, responsible, and self-fulfilled members of society.
Thank you, Adam. Would someone like to approve our agenda for the evening? Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Carly, seconded by Tom to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Would someone like to make a motion to approve our March 3rd regular board meeting minutes?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Sarah, seconded by Joel to approve our March 3rd regular board meeting minutes. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 3, addressing the board. We get to have our Mount Horeb High School art show students here. It's so much more festive here.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited. This is now, I think, our 5th year that the Board of Education wanted to find time to recognize the outstanding artwork of our young people each year in partnership with the Driftless Historian. Our high school teachers, help to arrange for the students' good work to be on display. It doesn't just have to be a painting, it can be a drawing. I even saw a dress this year made out of looks like a book of some. It was just really remarkable. And so each of our board members has selected one piece that spoke to them in particular. And my friends and colleagues on the senior leadership team at the back row here have also selected a piece. And what we'd love to do, if it's okay with the board, is to take a moment for the artist to meet up with the board member or the administrator who selected their artwork so that we can learn more about their piece, learn about what inspired them, and then for us to share what spoke to us about that piece. You will know who your board member or administrator is because we have these handy dandy certificates with your names on them. It's like you're waiting at the airport for your just show this, and then the person will come to you if you don't mind. And let's just spend a little time enjoying each other's company. I'll put up some of the artwork here that we had shared. So let's take a minute to do that. And I want to get this artwork here.
Hey! How are you? I see you guys are all fired up, ready to go. So, tell me all about this, because for me, when I saw this, that was the reaction. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh.
You can bring all 10 of your
Lots of vitamins. Do not listen to Ava. Maybe I should not be
right there. That's February 1st. Have gone amazing day. Second day of the night.
I've got my promises. That's Friday and oh, right.
Could all of our artists, we beg your indulgence real quick, could all of our artists and their families, would they be willing to join the board for a picture out in the middle school commons together? It won't be as nice as the pictures you will have taken, but I'll give it a shot. What do you say, just right outside the commons?
What did we?
Thank you. Yeah, that was there isn't one. There used to be one until they got rid of it. And now it's just insanity. And right now, literally, and so one of the moms, she was the elementary school principal, took them. And then we did Nashville this thing, and I don't probably 2020, and we were sitting in closing session, and they said it was canceled. Because we came back, Cassidy's texting us the whole time, like, maybe you guys should come in the building. And then the next day, they shut down the world. And so, like, when I came back in May, all of my state stuff was still sitting in my room, and I just, like, dropped off and got never.
Wait, so you came back from state?
Everything was canceled. That's when it used to be in March. And then when they moved the ECT up, state moved it to February. And because it used to always be in March.
We're not forcing it.
It was. It was.
International and so every year I get something like,
See, that's fun. So you're going to live with you.
Can we get like a Disney celebration session before we go?
We have to work between me and
Anna, Dylan,
and it's really good. And I like to float, like I'll do like apple juice
And she could hit those shots. But she
Actually, I threw it into AI and opened the ropes and tried to split it and pull it out. Like Ava doesn't count as a student. I mean, I'm a little afraid. She got a shot.
That was disappointing.
No, but all the way up until I got a lift at Disneyland and had like tahini and like.
she got a shot all the way up until I like reserved my Atlanta.
So by the time we get to we're not this shy, quiet here, scared freshman.
Yeah.
It had 22 floors, but technically 24 floors, so I ended up on a private floor one time, and as a whoopsie, I quickly got shuffled off by security, and it had a small one top where I got shuffled off. I didn't tell you that.
And then we found out Ava could just wander off into land. It was great.
I brought Nadia, and we ended up on a side of the Russell, and then it keeps that. I love it.
I think Ava actually.
Your work request about to fix the brand.
should have been at the press when the other guys came in. Almost freaking attacked Danny. Did that scare you at all? I was about to learn.
I have 3 brothers. That was kind of everyone like
And then they tried to explore the upstairs, and I was like, no. And then she's like, that guy was yeah.
So we'll take it off. That's probably better than I had.
We've gone on 10 been all the country together.
I cannot longer grab PPA.
So that was like a business martinez.
And she said maybe they'll make you go to I know, ladies. But it's just, she got to did you see the dress she was wearing?
No, but she had a dress for the first period show this year in the fall.
Is it just my beloved that was her? And then the one that she was for, so she was the one sometime, the princess one. She's so smart.
3B.
your approval of student attendance at the Decades International Career Development Conference.
Board members, we have an amazing group of young people here who just came back from a very successful run in Lake Geneva. And now here you want to go to Orlando.
Apparently, we would have liked it.
That's wonderful.
I'm Allison Carroll, and I am the DECA advisor going into the next year with my 10th year as a DECA advisor, which is very fun. And I've brought 4 wonderful humans with me just to introduce themselves and what they've done at state and what they're hoping to do at the International Career Development Conference in Orlando. So Jack, do you want to start?
Yeah, my name is Jack Schultek. I am a current junior. I did a written project this year at State. I competed in Community Awareness Project with my friend Anna. We ran a mental health initiative targeted towards Mount Horeb youth. And we had a booth at the Mental Health and Wellness Fall Festival, which I saw Dr. Salerno volunteering at, which was amazing. We presented to a judge finally after a long 9 months of preparing, and we won 3rd place at State. We are ecstatic to get to present that project at internationals and really brag about all of our hard work. It's been a long time coming.
My name is Eliana Harris. I'm a freshman. This will be my first ICDC, and I'm competing in Principles of Finance.
I'm Jamie Craven. I'm a sophomore, and this is going to be my 2nd year at ICDC, and I will be competing in accounting applications.
I'm Ava Murphy, and this is my 4th year in DECA. I'm very privileged to have been able to go to international, so this is my 4th time doing it. I've competed in professional selling as well as hotel and lodging management, and I finaled in both of those events, and so I'm taking my project to the international stage. DECA has been a very important part of my life for the past 4 years. It has led me to my future major in business, and it has changed the course of my career and future plans, and so I'd love for your consideration for us to head into this trip.
So Ava is one of what we call the Fab Five that have gone to ICDC all 5 years, or all 4 years since they were freshmen and closed our for it. So, and this year we're excited because we have an additional 4 freshmen attending, which is pretty rare. Last year Danny was our only freshman. So we are traveling to Orlando on April 25th. And we will be there until April 30th. And during that time, students will do their competitive events. We also have a number of students who apply for and were accepted to what they call the Emerging Leader Series Academy. So they'll be doing workshops and being able to bring that knowledge back to our chapter. That's always been really great going into the next year to have that information. We took 28 students to state this year, and of those 28, 18 qualified competitively. 17 of them are able to go internationals. And then we have those additional 4, so we're at 21. We're at the point where I'm starting to wonder if we should just charter a jet. Scott knows my struggle with having to buy lots of plane tickets every year and coordinate all of that because I have to borrow a credit card. But we are so excited this year, biggest group ever. We may be maybe the 3rd or 4th largest group coming out of Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin altogether. We're one of the most competitive chapters in Wisconsin. And we would love your approval to be able to attend this year.
Anyone want to have any questions? How many people do you compete against? Do you know?
At the international stage, we compete against over 23,000 people from around the world. So that's from countries like all over. So we have people from Canada, we have people that come from Puerto Rico, we have people that are coming from Spain. I've met people that I never would have had the privilege to meet, and it's been truly life-changing.
And in addition to the 22,000 there to compete with the academies and everything else, it ends up being 40 to 50,000 people a year. They actually will shut down Universal Studios for us for that. So we get to do some fun stuff as well.
Yeah, and I mean, in addition to getting to compete yourselves, do you get around and see a lot of the other presentations and whatnot, get exposed to some other content or anything like that?
Yeah, so oftentimes at these types of conferences, we have workshops as well as competing. At International, we have less access to those conferences, but we do have access to career fairs. So once we're finished competing, we get to meet people from colleges and get job opportunities as well as like pitches and recruitments from the Army and all sorts of different opportunities. So we get more of that rather than workshops, which is the main focus of state. But we also have people that are going to the academies, and that is primarily learning rather than competing. So that's the learning opportunity there.
Great.
are academies invite only, or how does that fit?
So students need to have made it to state, so they need to have made it through the district level and competed well at state, and then that's something that they can choose to apply for at that point. And then we wait a week or so. We're all hoping who made it to state, who can make it on in that capacity. We know who's going competitively, and this year all 4 of our students who applied were accepted. 3 of them are freshmen, which I've never had accepted in the academy, which I think really shows we've got some great places to grow in our program, having that many, the leadership potential of that many freshmen. This year is pretty cool.
Well, congratulations on the work you've already done, and hopefully you get approved to go, and hopefully you think about taking a board member. Sounds amazing.
You have to wear the blanket mask.
With a blue polyester blazer over there.
And are you available to contract out the next time I have to give a presentation at work? You guys are doing awesome.
Yep.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve? So second. Motion by Sarah, seconded by Carly to approve the DECA trip. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Have a wonderful time. Good luck. We'd love to hear about it when you come back.
Thank you so much.
Did a
Thank you,
fantastic
Mrs.
job.
Carroll. 10 years in, huh?
10 years in.
And you're only 21.
I am.
That's
I
great.
started when I was 11. Just a phenom.
We know that's quite a sacrifice on your part, especially with your own little ones at home, so thank you for what you do.
This year, one of my own little ones will actually be attending one of the academies. So my little kids are now officially my big kids. Thank you so much.
Great. Do we have citizens' comments?
Evening, board members, we have 2 folks who signed up for us tonight. The first is Sue Huntenberg.
All the way down there.
You just
I'm going to stay right here, but I think I'm sitting on that. My name is Sue Huntenberg. I'm president of Peak Line Mount Horeb. I don't know if you've heard about the 6th grade history teacher in Idaho whose administrators and board told her to take down 2 signs in her classroom. And she's had them up for 5 years. The first one says, "Everyone is welcome here." And it has hand prints but different colors. The second one is, "In this room, everyone is welcome, important, accepted, respected, valued, and equaled." This Sarah Anama said that the principal cited district policy that classrooms must respect the rights of people to express differing opinions, and that decorations are to be content neutral and conducive to a positive learning environment. So I'm thinking everyone is welcome here. What would be a differing opinion to that? Some are welcome here, you aren't welcome here, none of you are welcome here. I don't understand that. And how is it not content neutral? I believe welcoming and valuing every kid is conducive to a positive learning environment. So, I want to thank all of you and Dr. Salerno for supporting every teacher in our district and encouraging them to make their classrooms welcoming and safe and making learning conducive for all those kids. In addition to that, I also want to thank Dr. Salerno for being at the Capitol last week to speak against the multiple anti-trans bills that were up. I know you waited forever and didn't get to speak, but your testimony was recorded and your presence was noticed. I heard that from a number of people, and so thank you for being there for our kids.
It's the right thing to do.
That's all I got. Thank you.
We're also fortunate to have with us Amy Lyle. Amy, I also had the opportunity to see present, and boy, was it heartfelt at the state capitol.
Thanks, Kristen. Hi, everybody. Amy Lyle, Mount Horeb. It was really fun to see Miss Carroll in person. Both of my kids were in DECA, and they were the green team, the green siblings, and It was such a phenomenal experience for both of them, and Miss Carroll is just, as you know, one of those allies that creates a welcoming environment for everyone. And my incredibly, incredibly shy kid now can get up and do public speaking and introductions and things like that, and she absolutely credits that directly to DECA and Miss Carroll. And so I'm super happy for them. And just wanted to extend thanks again for you all going to the Capitol, both to register testimony, opposing the anti-trans bills. It's been a really, really rough couple of weeks. But also to go as a board and to advocate for our district. And I'm really bummed that I missed Crumble's visit at the Capitol. I think I just missed about like an hour or something. It was like, that was just brilliant, and also just shows like our district's commitment again to all kids and to safety and to mental health and to wellness, and it means so much. And our community is paying attention, and it does matter every time somebody shows up or sends a hand or checks in or things like that. So we just like greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I think that's it. I feel like there was one other like thank you I was gonna yeah, just thanks for providing this opportunity and your continued support. Appreciate it.
3D school news. Nola, I know you've been sick, but do you have anything you want to share?
The orchestra did our little Pops concert tour today. That's always fun. Seeing the kids at the IC and the PC and playing for them. I think they were bored out of their minds, but what's new? And then the choir Pops concert, I believe, is this week. The orchestra had theirs last week. Of course, the band show's coming up in a couple of weeks after spring break. I guess that's it.
Well, I just want to take a moment to highlight 4 groups in particular for their outstanding service over the course of this past winter season. Our gymnastics students just did an absolutely fantastic job as Division I competing. If you heard the fire department coming through town, you knew that that was a sign of good things for our young people. And of course, our DECA students, boy, weren't they poised tonight? And we know that they're going to represent us just beautifully in Orlando. I'd be remiss if I didn't also extend a note of gratitude to our boys basketball team. Quite frankly, both basketball teams, because both our boys and our girls just had a wonderful run this season. But we came up just a little bit short on Saturday afternoon. There's nothing to be hanging our head about. In fact, the exact opposite. I received the most lovely email from the Dean of Students at a Carnival Walk today that just spoke to how classy, and that's their word, classy our young people were in supporting our team and represented a great student section. And then lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the good work of our solo and ensemble students. Coming up, I think it's in a couple of weeks. Where are my band parents? Is it a couple of weeks that we've got the big show? Yeah. Stage show, so the stage show, yeah. So we're eager to see them continue to perform at very high levels. Tomorrow night is a night that we've been planning for some time, and I hope that folks who are listening to tonight's program might find time to head over to the library from 6 p.m. to about 7:15 p.m. We'll have a community dialogue around the book, The Anxious Generation. We talk about mental health and wellness of our young people. There's a lot of information which demonstrates causation, not just corollary, causation of our cellular devices and the amount of time we spend on social media and our mental health. And what do we need to do about that as a school district, if anything, in order to help continue to support mental health? And then lastly, I'd like to welcome everybody to come to this very room Thursday night at 6 p.m. We will have a candidate forum for our 3 incumbent board members who are currently uncontested, but nonetheless felt it was important to honor time with our students and their questions that they have And so there'll be a bit of a forum that will be recorded and we'll place on social media for folks who are interested in catching later. But we're grateful to our board clerk Lipska, Vice President Mertz, and thank you to board member Fisher for availing themselves, along with Mr. Winnicky and his AP U.S. history students who formulated a series of 7 questions that I'm going to send you tomorrow morning, I promise. That's all. Thank you.
Carly, do you want to talk a little bit about our trip to the
I would love to, yes. So last Wednesday was our day at the Capitol, and Jessica and I went, and I also want to extend our thanks to staff who came along with us. We were the only group that we saw that brought educators and teachers with us. So thank you to Emily McGonigal, Heidi Horst, Stephanie Schlungen, and Emily Bauer for coming along. They were able to tell their own personal stories to the lawmakers that we met and their staff, and it's so much more impactful when they can hear that. That's who they want to hear from. They don't want to hear from me. They don't want to hear from Dr. Salerno. They do want to hear from Crumble. Crumble got lots of pets. It was awesome to watch him work the room. He's pretty masterful at it. But we started off the morning with an overview with WASB, just talking about the priorities to focus on. One of them being advocating for an increase in the reimbursement rate for special education. That was the one that in our meetings we tried to focus on and talk most about. The other priority being to continue to increase the revenue limit for people and to index that to inflation in the future. With some acknowledgement that that's a challenging ask, not a challenging ask, it is not as impactful to a lot of districts when you're declining in enrollment, right? It doesn't matter if you get more per, if you have to cut the ed. There was a legislative panel that included Chris Larson, who's a senator, Democratic Senator Joel Kitchens, who's the chair of the Assembly Education Committee, Romaine Quinn, who's a senator, I believe, on Joint Finance and the Senate Education Committee, and then Joe Sheehan, who's a freshman Democratic Assembly member who is coming from, he's the former superintendent of, I believe, Sheboygan, so lots of education experience there. And the takeaways that we got from that panel, a couple of things in there. I think in general what we hear is that everybody is, in theory, supportive of increased funding education, and in those, the special education reimbursement, I think, has more momentum. There is, the proof will be in the pudding and what actually gets proposed though, right? A couple of takeaways there. One, everybody expects the budget to be late because of the pending Supreme Court decisions on the 400-year veto and the Act 100 veto, the literacy funding. And it's not, some of it has to do with timing of when the Supreme Court releases those decisions. Those cases have been heard. They think the decisions actually may come in April or May. They're not going to come before the election, but they think they will come from this current court after the election. Their concern isn't the timing necessarily of the decisions, it's that if vetoes are upheld, that the Republicans are going to take their time, or the legislature is going to take their time writing the bill because they feel that the vetoes were a sign of broken trust and they want to make sure they don't get caught in that again. So they're going to just read it and reread it and reread it to make sure that it's line item veto. They thought maybe as late as fall was some of what we heard on that to get a final budget. So other concerns that they have that they were tossing around were, that I don't know is as impactful for us, but just what's on their minds. They're not worried, but I think there's some acknowledgement of the per pupil revenue funding structure being challenging in an era of declining enrollment, particularly in small rural schools, and so they are looking at how can they incentivize maybe some very small districts in other parts of the state to consider consolidation. That's something we heard multiple times. And there does seem to be some low level, I don't know if low level is the right way to characterize it, but we heard a couple of times some concern over not wanting to increase the special education reimbursement rate too high because that could potentially incentivize what they think is an over-identification of special education students. And so part of our job is to educate the legislature on why that is not a valid argument. So after that, we had meetings with the staffer from Harold Barkline's office. We met with Diane Hesselbein and Mike Bear at the same time. We met with Jenna Jacobson, and then we had a long time with Todd Novak as well directly. So I think that's about it. It was a long day. Crumble did awesome. Our teachers did fantastic preparing their statements and advocating for our students. We really couldn't have done it without them.
Other school news?
Just one small addendum to the basketball crowds. Huge thanks to the band for being there, especially to drive all the way to Oconomowoc on a Saturday unexpectedly. That adds so much. Our town supports the team so well, students support the team so well, that our band puts us over the top. So I'll put in a plug for postseason football too while we're at it.
Yeah, I've got a few things. I was able to go to the 4th grade music concert on March 7th. It was titled We Rise by Lifting Others. And it was a nice concert, and the kids really sung their hearts out. And so congratulations to Ms. Evans and Ms. Larson and Ms. Winters for putting that together and making a nice concert for the parents to watch. I was also able to attend the orchestra concert on March 11th with the high schoolers and 8th graders. It was titled Yesterday, and it was a fun experience that took us back in time, and we even got a visit from Elvis. So that was fun. I was also able to go on the school visits to Glarus, Edgerton, and Oregon. I didn't go to the Edgerton one, but I was able to go to 2 to kind of look at their buildings and how they went through their designs and how it was working with their teachers. So that was really interesting. I'm sure we'll dive into that more at another time. But I want to say thank you to the districts that allowed us to take a peek into what they had and all the staff that went along and participated in that. This coming Thursday, March 20th at 7 p.m. At the high school, the FFA banquet will be taking place. So if you want to participate in that, it's always an interesting night. A lot of awards given out to students that put in a lot of hard work. On March 13th and 14th, the Drama Club did their show Almost Maine. And that was directed by Becky Kleckstein, one of our teachers, and some of the students. And that was a really good show. It had some comedy, but it was also had some serious moments in it too, and the kids really performed their hearts out. And I just want to echo some of the things said earlier about congratulations to all the winter sports that they've done. They really competed to their fullest potential, and good luck to all the spring sports.
All right, moving on. Personnel transactions. Dr. Snow, anything to
Just one quick note, how appreciative we are of all of the individuals who will be helping us this summer for our summer program. And a tip of the hat to directors Esslinger and Straka for putting that together. And we can't, of course, forget our dear Miss Hardiman, who's in the audience tonight as well. Thank you to all 3 of you.
Anyone like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Adam, seconded by Joel to approve our personnel transactions. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 5, consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull out to discuss?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
I'll second. Motion by Tom, seconded by Carly to approve our consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Number 6, our discussion item, summer school. Sarah and
Nice to meet some of you. I'm dedicated to Latino students during the day, but I also am excited to work with Sarah and partner with her to do
summer school this year, and I'm super excited. So it's my first year, so I'm working right alongside Sarah as I learn the ins and outs. So you can see our lovely little graphic that Jessie made for us. It's so cute that we had on the school website. And if you click the next slide, thanks. You can see we're actually having a new location this year. It's going to be at the primary center for kindergarten through 5th grade. It's going to be tight because, as you can see in a little bit down, we've got more staff this year, which is super exciting in the past. So we're really going to use every single space we have in the PC. And then we're still going to use the middle school for our middle school portion of summer school. So busing will look a little bit different, but we can navigate through that. You can see the dates as well. We're starting pretty quickly right after school. So we'll have a quick transition there, but that still gives us the week of the 4th of July off, and still some time to have a little bit of time off before summer wraps up. So I'll be the administrator. Courtney Harlan is back this year as a coordinator. Jessie is our program support again this year, and Sarah also will be working with us and coaching me, like I mentioned. The staffing piece, which I thought was pretty neat. Last summer we had 28 teachers, 2 sped, and then this year we're up to 32, so we have a few more, which is exciting. I also think me being at the ELCPC, a lot of our staff come from there. It was nice because I could really get in there and recruit personally some of our enrichment staff. And also being in the building, a lot of staff love that they don't have to move. The pay went up a little bit, so if it was booster teachers that are teaching those skill classes, it's their salary hourly, just like last year and the years past, but the enrichment pay went from $24 to $30 an hour. I think that probably definitely helps get an increase in teachers as well. Like I mentioned, we're going to have transportation, again, some central locations, and navigating what that looks like with the PC and middle school. Here's just a list of some fun classes, but we have some new ones this year, which is super exciting. So I just listed some here for you. Some to highlight is we're going to have an English learners class that's by invitation only, just to teach like social skills and general things like that. So we'll invite some of our learners to join us. We have some STEM-based classes. We've got a few more activity, physical education type courses this year. A music class, obstacle courses, a trading cards class, trail mix where they're going to go out to the trail and do some exploring, and Zumba. Then a few that are back this year. Theater's back, which is always a good popular hit. We're bringing some slime classes back, board games, crazy creatures. So we're going to have a lot of fun.
Joel, what do you think you want to come visit?
Well, Zumba, of course. I mean, take a look at Bobby by Zumba right here.
Is Kurt Nichols teaching?
That's right. No, he's not, actually. Yes, he hung that hat up. We tried, but no. He was having work. Yes. This was also something I just thought was pretty neat, is I was learning the ins and outs, like I said, from last year. Just some interesting stats for you. Like I said, we have grown a bit this year. So session 1, we just enrichment classes, boosters are similar to the years past, but session 1 for our enrichment classes, this year we have 26, last year we had 21. In session 2 we're gonna have 24, last year we only had 15, which is interesting. So that's how many actual enrichments we're offering, but then you can see in the chart in the middle, just like our total enrichments per period, so we have 3 periods a day. You can see the increase as well, which is quite a bit. Yes, super exciting. So it really ended up to be, we increased about 2.5 classes per period. And we have many enrichment staff, which helped for this. Last year, a lot of staff just taught in session 1. We have a lot of staff training for all 4 this year. So all 4 weeks. So that gives you a brief overview, and we're excited. Yeah.
It's going to be a good year.
It's going to be a good year. Any questions?
So how many students did we serve last year through the summer school program? And are we?
Your Friday weekly update.
Pardon me?
Yeah, well, I don't remember, but your Friday weekly update.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, but just not top of mind.
Because I want to be able to compare that. I mean, obviously we filled up, right? So.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's in the anticipation.
Like 300s is the number I'm thinking of. Where in there, I can't remember. Mid to upper, potentially. But we can share that.
This reminds me of college for kids when I was little.
Oh,
yeah. I was at college for kids. Yeah. So.
You can come back, so I said.
Oh, I can't wait. That's where I went to clown school. So, no, these are great.
And did I hear opening it up to the general population?
Good question. April 1st.
April 1st.
The kids that got invited were found out at conferences. Besides for middle school, we're still having like some events on that piece, but it will open to the students April 1st. Yeah.
Can I take a moment to brag on this professional right here? It has just been so much fun to see your leadership grow in the time that you've been here in Mount Horeb. As a teacher, you were always one of those teachers that just got in there and rolled up your sleeve and worked with the kids, and you've not lost that as a dean of students. And you could see she's selling a summer school program in such a positive, energetic way. We're lucky to have you as one of the gems in the crown that is the Mount Horeb Area School District. We appreciate you.
Thanks, I love it. And Steve was actually, I just finished up my master's and my principal license. He got to be my professor a couple times. So it was kind of fun.
So don't hold that against her.
It's really great. Yes, thank you. It's very great. Thank you. Yeah, feel free to stop by for summer school and see the kids when you're fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Committee member reports. Carly, do you want to start with community legislative engagement?
Yeah, we met, I don't remember the date now, about 3 weeks ago. We can do it next week. So about 3 weeks ago on Monday, we have updates. We had an update from Aubrey and Dr. Salerno in the meeting they had with some community members about the firearm safety program, which you saw some of those social media posts go out. Thank you to Aubrey for doing all the legwork with Verona and some of the other districts as well. We talked about we went through all of our community engagement, upcoming opportunities. There were already a lot of which we've already talked about, some that we haven't mentioned tonight, including this coming Thursday evening is the last meeting of the Safety Task Force before that Safety Task Force then comes with the recommendations to the board in April. We talked a little bit about the April 16th evidence-based grading evening, the SCULL Awards on May 26th. We had a little bit of a recap again of the February 10th family engagement event and some discussion over looking to do something similar with students. And then we spent some time just going over potential advocacy items and narrowing that focus down to really the two things we talked about earlier. For now, focusing on the increase in the special education reimbursement rate and indexing revenue limit increases to inflation. And so we started work on a couple advocacy letters that we will review at our next meeting on Monday, a week from tonight. So thank you to those staff and educators who are on spring break and still going to attend that meeting. If they are, they do not have to. But anyway, so and yeah, that's that covers it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Adam, do you want to talk about education today?
Yeah, we set an unofficial record for most content discussed in a 15-minute It was pretty incredible. Sarah Straka, thank you for all your work on this. This was a great update. I'll run through some of the highlights, and then if anyone wants to ask any other questions about it, we can get through because there's so much to talk about. First of all, it was assessment season. Got ACT and pre-ACT tomorrow, if I'm remembering correctly on dates. Forward exam coming up after spring break for 3 through 8 and 11. Ames Web for 4K through 3rd grade in early April. Middle school math teachers are piloting Great Minds Eureka Math. We'll have updates in April on how that's going. Also at the middle school level, exploring Amplify ELA, potentially a pilot this spring with that curriculum. The Amplify, this is a good one, the Amplify CKLA literacy consultant visited with our grade 1 through 5 teachers, kind of talked their experiences and next steps on that. That was a really great session, a great trainer that resonated with people. And then one thing I was going to confirm with you, Sarah, is that for sure that we're doing this, the 2 to 3 days of training?
Yep, we have the dates, August 19th, 20th, and 21st, and students already signed up for their half days.
Awesome. Yeah, there was such a immediate bond with this trainer. They wanted to come back and talk about, sort of lay the groundwork for our unit assessments going forward. That's something that the teachers can just take forward from there. Have to call out Ms. Olmstead, who blew away the trainer by looking through all the materials and finding the guidance for multisyllabic instruction. And had already implemented that. So it's good to have people who are digging into the material and seeing what they can put to use. We talked through the mentor and coach program and how we're taking steps to make sure that we're being helpful and not overwhelming at times, because there's so much coming at people. And again, tip of the hat to Sarah, who took the time to meet individually with 8 young teachers to hear their experiences rather than just do a survey or that kind of thing. And just she was talking about the quality of information that came out in those discussions. So I know that took a lot of extra time, but it sounds like it yielded a lot of really good information and will help shape our program going forward. And last bit on the curriculum area was the AI learning team, which received over 100 survey responses in deciding where staff is at in terms of their exposure and familiarity with AI. So we'll have more updates on that front. Grading and assessment, we heard about evidence-based grading a lot during the main meeting. Equity, the 172 staff members took a self-assessment. The equity committee is going to be reviewing those results. We'll share back with education. This follows our survey. We have a little over 200 responses in 2021, so we'll be able to do some comparisons of where people are at as a group, where staff is at as a group. Promotion policy, we have that on our agenda later tonight. Summer school we had, and I think we already mentioned that the evidence-based grading community session is April 16th. So that's what I have from education. If there was anything that piqued anyone's interest in all that.
Thank you. Sarah did the community coach.
No, we did not.
Village, I only have a couple of updates. There's been preliminary approval for a small addition to the Brookside Ridge subdivision, about 16 homes, potential students. The ATV, UTV was not adopted, and the Caracol has a new owner, and options for redevelopment of that site are also being discussed, so also potentially more students. Do you have any other?
I did not know. Most of that meeting was about the ATVs, so.
Is there still plans to, are they going to demolish that current building, the Caracol?
I think that I don't know the answer to that.
I heard that many times, that was
I'll just, I could send language. Redevelopment is being considered. Alrighty, 6C.
Hey, Jessica, I was just wondering, because I couldn't picture, where's that development? Do you know?
It is on the southwest side of
I just
town.
moved there.
Oh, okay, good. I was trying to figure out where it was too.
West of Grindle Park.
Yeah.
Over there,
Yeah.
Meadow Road.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah, 16 homes. Alrighty. We've got Ryan.
Well, hey, Ryan, how are ya?
Doing well. How's everybody?
Good. Let me just turn you up here. Please hold. Nice to see you. Thanks for making time for us tonight. Can you speak again real quick?
Good evening, everyone.
Okay. Yeah, just a second here. How about now? You want to sing
Good
a
evening,
song?
everyone.
There you go. We're grateful that you're here tonight, Ryan. Board members, as you may know, we had a group of administrators as well as teachers and staff. Thank you to Mr. Schlungen for mentioning the recent visit that we had just a couple of days ago. And what we thought we would do is maybe at the second meeting of each board cycle, we would just do a check-in with you about the work that's being done on our team. And who better to help us through that than Ryan Sands. Ryan put together a slide deck for us tonight that has been placed in board docs. And I would, for your edification, Ryan, would be happy to just explain that we also have in the audience tonight a couple of community members, as well as Coordinator of Building Services, Dave Reed. So we're grateful for your taking time to visit with us this evening and for putting together this nice slide deck. You're on, my friend.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to, first and foremost, on the Bray end, for our team to be partnering with you on the successful referendum project. It's been great getting things underway over the past month and a half or so, and I'm excited to share an update with everyone this evening. So I'm going to start with some project update, kind of hitting on a number of different things. First with the schedule. So this schedule should look familiar. This is a document that we used during the referendum communication, and so that's remained consistent. And this is looking at macro design through the end of construction, at least in the preliminary form, and this will continue to get refined throughout the design phase. And so you can see here, design is slated to go essentially through the end of the 2025 calendar year. Can you see my cursor on the screen? Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure. So you can see design goes through the end of the year. We are planning this fall to do a pre-qualification process for bringing on general contractors. So for those that were around for the previous referendum work, it's a process we went through back in 2017, 2018 as well. Basically looking to solicit and garner interest from general contractors in the area, have them submit qualifications and make sure that they're capable of doing the project, and basically creating your shortlist for when we're ready to go out to bid in early 2026. That we know who our list of potential contractors are. We'll send them the documents and specifications, and they'll be able to bid on the project, and then we'll go through the bid review and award process. That'll lead us to starting construction in the spring, and the addition will be the first piece of construction at the primary center. And that's really to get the ball rolling for what will inevitably be some moving pieces as far as the phasing, especially at the primary center and early learning center site. We'll have renovations at the primary center to complete the project scope within the existing building. Our additional district-wide and then kind of the final piece will be the early learning center demolition and site restoration leading up to the fall of 2027. That work, like we talked about during the referendum process, may not be 100% done for the start of the school year. That'll certainly be the goal, which is knowing the timing of there'll be a lot of work to do that summer. That's one piece that we'll continue to plan around. And the other thing would be some of the district-wide improvements we may be able to tackle in summer of 2026, depending on what they are and what you all want to have underway within the district. This next slide then breaks down the design phase. So when we go through the design process, we break it into these three phases: schematic design, design development, and construction documents. And it helps us to organize the design schedule around what we're looking to tackle within each of these phases. So schematic design is when we're really looking big picture. We're, as you'll see, we're revisiting some of the decisions that were made pre-referendum to make sure that we're going down the right path. We're moving spaces around on the plan. We're looking at the best locations for all the different pieces of scope between the addition and the renovation areas at the primary center. As I'll hit on in a little bit, we went on some building tours and we're starting our staff engagement. And at the schematic design phase, as a district, you're making high-level decisions about the project, and we're focusing a lot on 2D plans as we study schematic options. In the end of April, we'll be transitioning to design development, and that's when we start to focus more on what goes into each of the space, how do we best outfit those to meet the needs of the district, and our earliest learners at the primary center. We're hoping that by that point we've kind of finalized the layout and walls maybe aren't moving as much, and we'll finalize that during the design development phase. We'll get more into material and color selection. We'll engage staff further. We'll start to engage our engineers more during design development. You'll start to have more detailed conversations and decisions to make about the project. And we'll get to the exciting point of starting to look at the projects in 3D, which I was sharing with some of the district team members on the tours last week, that the technology, even from when we did the previous referendum project to now, has gotten improved, and so there's a lot we can show in 3D these days. So that'll be exciting, and I look forward to bringing that to the board in the future. At the end of design development, then we shift into construction documents, and so this is really kind of putting a bow on the design work. There'll still be some things that we need to finalize, but we're really transitioning to creating the set of construction documents and specifications that the general contractors and subcontractors will use to bid out the project and then eventually to construct the project. So here we're really doing a lot of coordination and work with our engineers. We're finalizing exterior and interior material palettes, working on the specifications, working through finalizing local approvals. You're starting to make more granular decisions as we finalize those pieces of information, and we'll be able to produce final 3D renderings of the project and the spaces. So all said and done, that will take us through the end of the year. During each of those phases, we'll be doing budget updates, and we'll be issuing progress sets that'll be used both from a district review standpoint as well as for coordination internally and with our consultants. And then in the end, we will issue a bid package to the broader bidding community, like I said, in early 2026. This is a design phase structure that, again, probably will look familiar for those that were around for the prior referendum project. Obviously, as the board, everybody in the scope of the project kind of works up to you as the decision maker for the district. But from a day-to-day standpoint and a meeting standpoint, we've established a core planning team with the district admin team, Steve, Scott, Dave, and then Rachel representing the primary center in those conversations along with our team. We've identified these kind of subgroups or committees that we will be meeting with to provide input and gather feedback as we move through the process. So a group focusing on safety and security, which is obviously of the utmost importance. A group focused on operations and capital maintenance, and then the Mount Horeb primary / elementary school group, which Rachel helped us develop, and that's the group that joined for the tours along with other district team members and also board representation. So we'll meet with these groups. They'll have more high-level input on the design progress. And then especially when it comes to the staff here, we'll also hold what we call user group meetings. So we'll meet with individual departments or grade levels and groups to get specific feedback on the different spaces within the project. We've taken a number of steps to work through site and building verification already in the last month plus. So our team was on site a couple different times doing 3D Matterport scanning of the primary center building. It's a pretty cool technology that we'd be happy to share in the future. You probably have seen something similar maybe on real estate websites where you can kind of walk through a house or a building through 3D photos. This is a tool that really helps our team with conversations around the renovations, so we can kind of pull up the existing building and talk about how we're making adjustments in design meetings with the district team and with user groups. But from a documentation standpoint, it helps us verify existing conditions. It helps us with demolition scope and renovation scope. So it's really part of our field verification tools. currently. Then on the district side, you brought on a partner to do a site survey, so that work is underway, and that partner is Point of Beginning. We went out and got competitive proposals, and Point of Beginning was the low proposal, and they also happen to be our civil engineer for the project as well. And then we'll also be conducting some geotechnical engineering analysis with a partner that the district brought on, Giles. So they're scheduled to start their work during the week of the 24th over spring break to do soil borings to help us understand the subsurface conditions in the location of the addition and parking and drives. Those that remember the high school project, there's a high likelihood of hitting rock in Mount Horeb. I don't know if you knew that there's a lot of rock in the area, but there's a likelihood we'll hit some rock. And so in that case, they'll stop the boring and we'll do a few rock cores just to understand the makeup of the rock to support the foundation design, pavement recommendations, and the stormwater management design for the project. And then another partner that we're in the process of bringing on from the district side, they'll do the thermal conductivity test and test borings for the geothermal bore field. And so that's something that we're in the process of getting proposals for, that we'll be reviewing with the district, and then bring on somebody to help facilitate that work. And then that will feed into the geothermal bore field design to support the HVAC system for the addition. And then finally, we've engaged with the UW-Milwaukee Cultural Resource Management Department to conduct an initial cultural resource investigation, knowing that the primary center has historic designation. We want to make sure that we know what steps we'll need to take to get approval for adding on to the building as we get further into the approval process, primarily with the DNR. If the DNR sees that designation, it'll get flagged, and so we'll make sure that we're prepared to respond at the point that we submit. So I mentioned this before when we were talking about the different groups, and so we went on 3 building tours last week on the 11th. A large group of the district admin and the primary center ELC staff toured New Glarus Primary and Elementary. That is addition renovation project, not unlike the one planned for the primary center in Mount Horeb. We toured Community Elementary in Edgerton. And then the last one, which is where we have a photo there, is Forth Edge Elementary in Oregon. So that was a new building, and the goal was to provide some insight and thought starters for the district team and the staff as we get into additional design conversations. Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and if you've taught in the same building for a long time, it's good to get out and see other facilities and help to inform our design process, because we really value staff input. And so it was an exciting opportunity, and I think all the feedback that I heard was really positive as far as it being helpful in understanding some of the spaces that we're in the process of designing, decisions that will need to be made. The last piece then, as far as ongoing community engagement, is we'll be providing regular updates, and the images there are the template that our communications team put together for regular project updates during the design. We did a lot of great communication during the referendum campaign, and we want to make sure that that continues throughout the design process when there's not the shovels in the ground or the large equipment on site that maybe is more evident during the construction phase. So admittedly, the first couple are maybe not as exciting from the graphic content standpoint. We'll probably have some great photos from the tours, but as we get further along, we'll be able to share plan updates and eventually 3D imagery of the projects. And then for those that recall the last time around, we then worked with whoever you select as a general contractor to create and kind of transition these updates from design updates to construction updates once we hit that phase, to continue to keep the community up to date during construction as well. I can pause there and see if there's any questions before I jump into more of the design conversation, if that's helpful, or I can go all the way through and save questions for the end, whatever you prefer.
One quick one, just while we're on this topic, in terms of distributing the community engagement materials that we have here. I know that we did a lot of printed materials before. Is that still the norm? Do you do more digital at this point?
Yeah, most frequently these would be provided digitally, often, posted to your website, posted either directly to social media or via a link to your website. We can certainly provide printed copies, or if often what we'll do is if you have regular newsletters scheduled, we'll align one of these and we can include some of that content into a regular newsletter that you're already sharing or maybe mailing to the entire community. But it really depends on what your preference is. We're happy to work with you however you'd like to best distribute and keep the community informed.
Great, thanks.
I don't think there's any other questions, right?
All right, well, happy to take questions on any of that at the end too. So I'm going to jump into a bit more of an update around the design conversations that we've been having. I'm going to largely use the referendum concept imagery and some of the diagrams that we've created since to kind of talk through the conversations that we've been having. So this is really just for reference, the existing site plan of the primary center and the early learning center. This is a slide that probably looks somewhat familiar to those that attended the focus group meetings and from some of our subsequent presentations. And it's probably no surprise to you as board members some of the existing site considerations that are both influencing and part of the conversations around the design for the addition and renovation of the primary center. So as all of you know, there's some variation in topography across the site, especially along Academy as you go from west to east, and from the primary center site dropping down to the early learning center. It's about a story of grade change. The existing JV baseball field is currently housed in the site, and I'll come back to that in a minute. The existing geothermal bore field and vault, so that's what you see here in orange. The vault is where all the bore field circuit piping enters, and then there's piping from the vault to the building, so that we always knew would have to be adjusted because we're building over it. But we need to maintain the current bore field for the geothermal for the current building. You obviously have existing parking and drives with the bus loop around the ball field and the current parking and up and drop off loop to the east of the building. There's some existing bioretention ponds and stormwater management that we'll need to either revise or add to as we increase the stormwater management to account for the addition. And then there's some site utilities that we have to work with. So as we started, or I'll say kind of restarted the design conversations in schematic design, all of those things were top of mind. And so these are some of the things that we started to talk about from a site perspective. Safety, security, and traffic flow are obviously extremely important. They went into the referendum concept. We had a lot of conversations around that as we developed the referendum concept. We know we need to find a location for the new geothermal bore field, vault and piping to the building, and we're studying a few options for that. For those that are maybe less familiar, we can't build the building itself over the geothermal bore field, but we can build site amenities like parking, drives, playground, green space. Those can all be built on top of the bore field, as you have currently with the JV baseball field. And that ball field is really a major part of our early conversations as we talked about, looking ahead to the next 50 years of the primary center is having the JV baseball field on this site and some of the limitations that it leads to. from a design standpoint and a site layout standpoint, is that the best long-term solution? And we wanted to revisit it to make sure that we're starting schematic design through the right lens. And the more we talked about it, the more that everybody agreed that planning to relocate the JV baseball field to the high school campus was the best long-term solution, not only for JV baseball and having it on the high school campus, not having young drivers have to go to a different campus and the convenience of having it at the high school, but also for kind of relieving the ELC and primary center site of some of the limitations that it was producing. The district has already talked to Colleen, your athletic director, and the coaches for baseball and soccer to get those conversations going, to help them understand the why behind that decision. But that really then frees us up to explore some concepts that we weren't able to previously when we had said, we wanted to keep the JV baseball field here. So we're starting to look at, okay, if the ball field moves, how does that change how we approach parking and drives site? And we're looking at really potentially changing the orientation of the addition and the campus as a whole to move the office and main entry to the west side of the campus, move our parent pickup and drop off. Sorry, that says east, it should say west, that's my mistake. To the west side of the campus, it's currently on the east. And then we're exploring options for the buses. So we had one option that explored it still on kind of the southwest, but separate from parent pickup and drop off. And most recently, we're looking at an option to potentially put it north of the existing primary center, or between the existing building and Academy Street. We think there's a lot of positives to that as a potential option as we talk through it with the district and with Rachel thus far, and work to get others' input. And then if we go down that path, then it gives us some flexibility with how we orientate the addition, the kindergarten classrooms, the gym, and think about how we best set up the building for kind of the multi-uses throughout the day. So obviously school day use is first and foremost, but then also how can we control access to various spaces for after school, evening and weekend use. The other thing that we've talked about in relation to this shift is if the JV baseball field shifts to the high school campus, how can we alleviate some of the pressure on your practice fields and green space over there? And so we've been exploring a potential opportunity to maybe locate the youth soccer field on this site to kind of separate some of those and provide that additional amenity here on the primary center site. So a lot of exploration underway. We're currently working on a number of options to respond to this as we get further into schematic design. As we talk about the building, then this is just a quick reminder on our approximate square footages. So we have a 2-story addition concept, or a partial 2-story. You can see there the first floor or the footprint around 36,000 square feet. Partial second floor with some of our academic space and then some mechanical space for a total addition just under 60,000 square feet. And then we've got about 17,000 square feet of renovation within the existing primary center, mostly focused on the first floor, but also providing some amenities on the second and third floor as well. So this is the referendum floor plan concept. So this should look familiar. And an exercise we went through a couple of meetings ago as kind of our launch point for the building design and potentially exploring some of these additional options was going through kind of space by space and doing a program verification exercise to understand these concepts were created basically in the spring of 2024 and then refined through the focus group process. So we wanted to understand, how is the building being used potentially differently this school year than it was last school year when we did the referendum concept design work. And as an example, we learned that you've already moved music from the lower level basement below by the gym here. It was previously housed. You've already moved that into this classroom on the first floor for this school year, which was a nice opportunity to test that out. And IT has already been able to kind of move into the space that they were planned to move into at the end of the project. So that's one example of information that helps us understand, are the spaces that we showed here as we start to revisit the concept and explore new ideas, are those valid? So that was a really productive conversation to understand what's the same. And the major pieces of the program are the same as far as the 2-station gymnasium, the kindergarten classrooms, a new space for the office, some of the special ed resources, and other resources that we were providing. But we got some additional insight into maybe where those might best be located and some of the adjustments based on how the building is being used this year. So that's been really productive, and that's then informed our exploration of those additional design options that I referenced, where we're looking at, kind of shifting the office to the west side of the building, and then kind of relooking at how the rest of the spaces react accordingly. We're also then revisiting, music. It's currently on the first floor, and that seems to be working well. So is the current cafeteria the best location for that? And then you can see some of the special ed resources that were planned to be added in the upper floors. We also have the additional projects. So the intermediate center roof replacement is something that we're working on. We've done walkthroughs at the middle school, and Dave Reed has been working with Paul Christensen to help us gather information to hone in on the middle school renovation scope for the resource rooms and adding those single occupant toilet rooms. And then not also losing sight of the high school tuck pointing and masonry repair work that we'll be including in the overall project package. So I'll just hit on a few next steps. So we continue to meet bi-weekly as a core planning team, and we will be layering in those committees or those subgroups and the user group meetings into our schedule as well. We'll be establishing updated conceptual site plans and floor plans here in the next couple of weeks and couple of meetings to solidify our macro concept at schematic design. Again, wanting to nail down the big moves of where the spaces will be and what the layout looks like. We'll be doing additional staff and stakeholder engagement, like I said, through the committees and the users. And then we'll be beginning engagement with our engineers and consultants as well in the coming weeks. With that, I'll open it up again to questions, and I'm happy to go back to any of the slides to help facilitate the conversation.
I have a question. Somebody's going to have to repeat it for Ryan, but so we're talking about moving the JV baseball field to this current soccer practice field at the high school. And the middle school, don't they use that also for gym? Are they going to lose that space as well?
Ryan, the question was with regard to moving the JV baseball field over to the soccer fields. What impact will that really have on access for our young people? You want to talk a little bit about that space down below?
Sure, yeah, we haven't finalized the exact location, but as you noted, it's likely to be the I'll say the upper practice field. We've been having initial conversations about how we can best lay that out to maintain as much green space as possible, and similar to what you have currently on the primary center site. We've talked about not having an outfield fence to keep the outfield and the green space contiguous and flexible for other groups and sports to use for practice. And then in the lower practice area, the initial thought is to stripe a full-size soccer field down there as well, so that you'd have flexibility with how those different fields are used different times of the year. So it would really depend on likely the time of year in which sports need green space as far as kind of who would go where. That's been, I guess, the discussion thus far without having anything finalized yet.
The lower field, sorry Tom, quick addendum on that one. The lower field, are we talking about the pit area?
Yes.
Okay.
What we're gonna rename it because we want it to be more than just the pit.
Yeah.
Right.
Birds Field.
Is that naming rights?
Yeah, right. Yeah, buddy. David, you went out there on a number of occasions and you spoke to the quality of the, is it dry enough in the springtime and those sorts of things? Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, so the major impact for, the season is majorly impacted is spring, when you have to put baseball and soccer on that upper practice field. So we're going to take soccer off of the upper practice field and put it on the lower practice field. The upper practice field has some drainage issues that I'm going to address. Last year, we couldn't mow the upper practice field, the southern half of it, for a couple months, in the spring, because it was just too wet. The lower practice field will have to put some more effort into maintaining that now that it's used both fall for football and spring for soccer. But it's a bit about moving the pieces around. It looks like everything fits now, and I have to admit I was very happy to hear Coach Newman and Coach Gage go, yeah, we can make this work. We can try to make it. It might require us putting some other amenities on the field to help them, but we're prepared to do what it takes to make it all work out. There's going to be a lot of green space still remaining. We're not making a dedicated area. It's going to have a ball diamond in the corner, but like Dr. Soto says, not an outfield fence that makes it like this is all you can do in here. In the fall, when there's no baseball out there, it's wide open for middle school, Phi-Ed. It could be where the band marches to practice. We're trying to find places where those can go right now. Our intent is to line those all out so people can say, oh yeah, that's going to work, or that we can see for ourselves that it's one thing to draw in a Google Maps picture, but another thing to actually stripe it on the grass. So there's still some questions, but we're working towards a solution.
So the boys soccer would be on top in the fall, yeah.
Yeah, boys soccer in the fall really isn't affected at all because baseball's not in session.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ryan, if you don't mind taking like a higher view of maybe the structure itself. I've had some community members asking me about why aren't we thinking about building along Academy Street? Maybe you could explain maybe some of the reasons why maybe that's not an option because of the added cost of some certain issues, but maybe you could explain that a little bit if you could.
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to. So let me jump back to this one. So we did look at that as part of our kind of revisiting of the overall referendum concepts and wanting to make sure that we're vetting all the potential options. For reference, Academy Street is north. You got the existing primary center here, and we obviously have the referendum concept for the addition to the south of the building. Looking at the zoning, we've got about a 30-foot setback before we could construct any building along Academy Street. As I mentioned on this slide, you can see there's quite a bit of grade change from east to west, and then also up to the primary center. So almost a story or a little more than a story of grade change from the building to the street. And so between the grade change and the setback, we're a little limited in how much building area we could put in front of the building, noting that we want to have a courtyard or a light well of some sort to make sure we're not blocking all the windows on the existing building. So when you take into consideration the setbacks and a potential courtyard, we could put some amount of building across a couple of stories out there, but it wouldn't be able to house the whole addition. You know, visually you can kind of even see how that wouldn't really fit if you subtract 30 feet off the street, and maybe even if you didn't. So we probably would have to be looking at 2 additions, an academic north of the existing building, and then still adding the gym south of the existing building. Another just kind of general thing would be, you know, the referendum concept with the addition to the south really suggested to the broader Mount Horeb community that the most prominent historic facade of the existing building was going to remain visible. So we want to be cognizant of being, you know, respectful of that, and any community members that may have supported the project because it was implied that the historic facade would remain visible for those that would want to be able to still see it. And then there's a couple of maybe more nuanced things. So I mentioned the grade change from the existing building down to the street. You know, we had planned a 2-story addition, but to effectively build a 2-story addition out front there and not have you know, a massive retaining wall and a ton of additional earthwork beyond what we'd already need to do, we probably would have to build the 2 stories down a level, so have the first floor of the addition aligned with the basement of the current building, and then the upper floor of the addition aligned with the first floor. So that would really start to present some challenges from the standpoint of connecting back to the existing building and accessibility to the addition. We potentially would need a second elevator, or we'd have to have kind of a tunnel connection back to the existing building. And it would be a challenge then to get daylight into some of those lower level spaces. So those are some of the design considerations as far as the potential of building out there. There's also some site utilities that come off of Academy Street, so we'd have to look at you know, relocating those as they feed the existing building. So as we looked at it and kind of talked about all those factors, talked about the split addition, it felt like it would likely be more costly from a kind of excavation and a site perspective and a foundation perspective, be more challenging to effectively connect to the existing building, and might limit student traffic and staff traffic flow between the lower level and the upper level of the addition. And then, like I said, we kind of be blocking the historic building with the new building, which may not be well received with some community members, and probably something we would want to have run by the village and the plan commission as well before we would pursue something like that. So I think those were the bulk of the reasons that we kind of came across as we were studying that. I did, as I mentioned before, we are having Milwaukee do that cultural resource investigation. So that will let us know if we need to do any like documentation and things. My guess, I don't know for sure, but my guess is they would say that the mitigation factors would be much more severe if we were going to kind of cover the existing historic building versus leave it exposed to the north as well. So that's one additional factor as we looked at that as a potential option.
Thanks, Ryan.
Does that answer the question, or any follow-up questions?
Well, Ryan, we're looking forward to continuing the dialogue this Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Board members, we've decided that because there's great interest on your part to be a part of these, to make this a little easier, we're just going to go ahead and notice the meeting publicly, so that if your schedule does happen to allow, we'll always have our meetings virtually, and I'll have the link available to you in my weekly update. Is it the first meeting of the month? If I remember right, Ryan, we will have we'll host it at the district office as well as virtually. So if there's a community member that's interested in just kind of seeing the work being done, if they have an idea that, maybe we just haven't considered, we'd welcome that opportunity too. So next meeting would be this Thursday morning at 10 a.m. and we usually go about 2 hours. So if you can only join us for a couple of minutes, that's okay. But we certainly welcome your input. And then we'll redo this, kind of catch up with the board during the second meeting of each month going forward. Ryan, it was terrific to see you tonight. Hopefully you're at home with your family. You can read some stories to the kiddos before getting them to bed. We're grateful that you would find time to spend with us this evening.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, happy to. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to coming back with future updates. Have a great rest of the evening, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Number 7, action items. First reading, consider revisions to board policy 345.4. Sarah.
Thank you. Due to Act 20, all school districts are to look at their promotion policies, particularly the 3rd to 4th grade promotion policy, and make changes. And Minnesota Public Instruction has provided some language on those changes that we did incorporate into 345.4. So backtrack slightly. So a couple years ago, WASB recommended that we combine many of our promotion policies into one policy. That's the policy you all have here. So we did some work a couple of years ago. So we didn't really have a standalone 3rd to 4th grade promotion policy anymore. So much of the language is embedded into the 3rd to 4th grade section, or it's also embedded throughout the policy, but it's just good practice for all grade levels. Some key topic additions to the promotion policy. Promotion requirements from 3rd to 4th are in there. Language around good cause exemptions for promoting students. We added additional language on retention determination process. And then during our education committee meeting, there were 2 requests on adjustments. One was adjusting the kindergarten language to making sure it's in parallel structure compared to the 1st grade promotion language. There was conversation about the involuntary routine, and I moved that down. You don't see it in this red line, but I moved it down. You'll see it in the final. I feel strongly. There's a reason why we have the language in there, so I didn't want to lose it at that time. So I left that language in there. And then we also had a request on the middle of page 3 or so, when we start to go through the process of think about promotion. I think Adam had asked, or Joel, right there, perfect, right where Steve's cursor is almost, to the decision-making team will be within 10 school days. So we added that language as well, in order to have, not be whatever. And 10 school days is our typical number. We look at other requests from the public, of us, or of the board, or of Dr. Soto. So, yeah, there's our quick rundown.
Any questions?
Well, Leah says.
It's a longer one.
I was like, is she not talking because she can't talk, or she already?
She's happy with it.
She's got nothing to say. I'm reading her lips.
She says it's the best policy she's ever seen, right?
That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing.
Anyone else? Anyone like to make a motion to approve?
So,
Second.
Motion by Adam, seconded by Sarah to approve policy 345.4, promotions, retention, and acceleration. All those in favor, please say aye. Oh, it's a roll call first. Okay, roll call. Joe?
Yes.
Ian? Yes. Adam?
yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
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 I'm also Section 19.851CC, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties and investing in public funds, conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, to wit sabbatical request and Dane County School Consortium.